Audio Jungle.
Minister of Budget, DG Budget, Chairman NMDC. I want to stand on the existing protocol, ladies and gentlemen. I will rely strongly on the presentation of Honorable Minister of Finance and also the presentation of DG Budget as to 2025 projection. So whatever he has presented as 2025 projection, that is what, because the mandate of Federal Land Revenue Service is to take the target and directive from Honorable Minister of Finance, which I think has been taken into consideration before the presentation of DG Budget. So what we will be waiting for is that after the MTEF our budget has been passed, and they will send us a target. So, based on that, as far as 2025 is concerned, the work has been done. We will wait for the directive as we are mandated to take, because we are just implementing agency. Now, I will now go to the one you gave us last year, which is directive from both the National Assembly and my boss, Minister of Finance. The target we are given based on last year is 19.4 trillion, and which is a little bit above 57% compared to the previous year. So review the last 10 months. So if we put that into the way we put it in installment or monthly analysis, we've exceeded that performance by roughly 15%. And then compared to last year, that is roughly 76% above what we have. So in the presentation that have been distributed, it is clear by tax category. So based on the MTEF, which is the performance, if I take it one by one, the first one is company income tax. Our 10-month target is roughly 4 trillion. Today, we are at 5.7 trillion. That is the 42% above the target that we have. If you go by the presentation of DG Budget, it said, and which is also confirmed by the chairman and the CEO NMPC, that we have some challenges in oil and gas last year, which in the last 6 months we focused on it, and by the special grace of Almighty God, we will overcome it. We begin to see the results coming into 2025. The taxes from both oil and tax from oil-related activities underperformed as confirmed by DG Budget. And then if to go by my figure, the budget we have for that is 5.8 trillion. Today we've collected 5 trillion. And the same thing goes for gas. But aside that, on non-oil related, because if you look at non-import VAT, our target is 3.5 trillion. Today we've done 4.1 trillion, which is 16% above the target. If you go to education tax, the target for this year is 750 billion. Today, by special grace of God and the unrelenting work of the member of service, I mean wonderful staff of Federal Inland Revenue, we've delivered 1.5 trillion, which is almost double the target. If you go to gas income, which is what I've explained, and other small tax, in general, we've exceeded all the targets set for non-oil tax, which is attestation to the impact of the reform being led by Mr. President, that the diversification of our economy from oil is yielding. So we need more help of the Assembly to pass all other pending reforms bills that we have, so that in 2025 we can actually begin to live our dream and have ability to fulfill the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. So, in summary, if you look at where we are based on the target, the last 10 months, we supposed to have 17.4 trillion. As of today, we are 18.5 trillion. And if we annualize that, and based on the target we have, which is 19.4, by special grace of God and with the help of my colleagues at service, I know that target will be met and exceeded. So we will wait for questions or clarification as far as 2025 is concerned. As I said, that we take directive and instruction from my boss, the target that we were given that we go and work with, and by special grace of God, your help, most especially on those critical bills that we have here, will give us that solid foundation to actually make sure that what we've done this year is sustainable, and it will help Mr. President to achieve his renewable agenda for the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That the response I want to give is without any prejudice. It's just putting preliminary before my boss will definitely come and round it up. So that's what I'm saying. I said the fact that we meet revenue targets, that does not mean we should not go and borrow. And the reason is simple. The budget we have has both borrowing components and internally generated revenue components. So it's total package. Our borrowing target is there in the budget as approved by National Assembly. So when we go borrow, that is what it means. That's number one. Number two, if you listen to Senator Tokubo, he said we've stopped making reference to ways and means since inception, and then under the leadership of my boss, Minister of Finance, we've followed fiscal discipline. We are not resorting to printing of currencies, which is ways and means. So when you talk about meeting the internally generated IGR and fiscal management within the country, that is what we have done. Secondly, most of the borrowing that you are being approved for us is foreign exchange, which has to do with our international fiscal balances. Despite the fact that we have Naira, we have foreign components which we use to manage our reserves because of import-export balances. So borrowing, as we've said, is not a crime, it's not a problem. When we borrow in line with what is being approved for us by National Assembly, we are actually carrying out our responsibility. So meeting the target and borrowing, they are not conflicting, and it's not self-serving. Thank you very much, sir. Totally out of subsidy a few months ago. And under the leadership of Coordinating Minister of Economy, Minister of Finance, the committee has been set up to first of all reconcile before they start remittance, because they've been on this thing for more than 40 years. Now that we're free, we just cannot just start and say remit what? So the reason why you see the lack of remittance is that Honorable Minister of Finance is leading the team where we reconcile how much has NMPC paid on behalf of Federation and how much in taxes and royalty is NMPC owing the Federation. Is after that letter we agreed the payment term, and subsequently because it is NMPC, don't forget, they are now a limited liability company. It is criminal for them not to pay tax. So the issue of remittance is going to be addressed by law. So it's not by begging them and everything. So, and I know they are ready because they also they celebrated moving into limited liability, and they are responsibility for a limited liability company. So payment of taxes is law, and then it is criminal for them not to remit. So I will just plead that we have roughly 1 month for that reconciliation, and then my colleague, fiscal revenue mobilization, will swing to action, and then the whole Federation of Nigeria will get benefit from it. Thank you. To know whether the increase in revenue is due to foreign exchange or there are actual increase. So the simple answer to that is that there are actual increase to the revenue, and the way you know this is because Nigeria is not dollarized. The base exchange, our currency is naira. The only dollarized revenue we have is from income. It's from oil and gas. But if you look at the oil and gas, you see that is where we are actually underperforming. So the impact of FX are both gain and loss. And if you've been following, you will discover that most of the companies, most especially manufacturing companies, declare loss because of the so-called exchange rate that we have. And don't forget, if company declares loss, you can't collect taxes. Normally, if we have that impact of fluctuation of exchange rate, it should actually reduce what we collect because of losing the purchasing power. So the real impact that you see in revenue has little to do with exchange rate that you fix in the budget and actual exchange rate, because the only base through which that exchange rate is fixed in the budget affects revenue is through oil income that will generate, and you can see from the report that we actually underperform from both oil and profit tax from hydrocarbon. So you can see where the impact should be in that place. So the effect of whatever you set in the budget and real has little to do as far as the actual revenue collection is concerned. And I hope that resolves that. The second one is by distinguished senator on bottom-up approach that we have issue, most especially that it affects budget implementation. And I beg to disagree that it has nothing to do. The initiative of Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy is just to live up to the law and policies that you passed. The real person that we should pay money to are not the MPs. They are contractors. It is when contractor has done the job that they should be paid. There is no provision anywhere, whether in our fiscal responsibility or procurement, that we should sit down every quarter and distribute money and give to MPA as a capital leases when we don't know the actual person that will collect the money. And the implication of that, if I may explain, is that if quarterly you say, let's just distribute water resources works, and you give them blanket based on the percentage of the budget, what happens is that when they have the money, that is when they start procurement. So if the total budget of Ministry of Water is 100 billion, but when you do capital allocation, you give them only 20 billion. They look at it, what can they do? That's why you see them buying losses and the rest. And most important thing now is that because they are not final beneficiary of that money, you can't deduct tax. Because when you distribute to MDA, the job is not done, the tax is not earned. But when you pay contractor, you know the tax is earned, which is 7.5% VAT, 1% stamp duty. If it's contractor, 2.5% withholding tax. So you collect your tax. But when you move that money to MDA, you can't do that. By the time MDA decides to do that, because MDA is not set up to deduct tax or to remit tax or not to be audited, so you have leakage. So if there is other problem, it can never be from bottom up. Because what bottom up says, have you done the job? Who is the contractor? Do the paper, send it, and then Academia pays. So, and that is it. So if we have people problem or whatever, which will always happen anywhere, So it has nothing to do with budget implementation. It's just the real process. The reason why we have a General Office distributing accountants to LMDAs is for them to prepare their book and notify their General that post them into that place, and they make the payment. Then we deduct our taxes, money goes straight to the contractor, and there is no other committee being done. That is one. The last one, which is the loan justification, because I've seen here that we believe that when you have increased revenue or you have revenue, you don't need loan. The real principle of loan, whether for business or country, is not about you having what is enough. It's about matching. For example, if I want to do the loan that will not be used by me alone, that this loan will be used by generations to come, you go and get a loan to do it, and you pay that loan over the next 10 years, 5 years, that those people that will benefit from those capital also have their share payment through taxes that you use to repay the loan. And that is why the mandate is that when you go to borrow loan, it must be for capital, it must not be for consumption. That is what they call sustainable development. So irrespective of the volume of the money that we will have, we will always have loan.
Mr. Chairman, you are becoming very technical. You are becoming very technical.
Why, irrespective of our revenue, the loan is strategic component of any development, whether company or nation. So thank you very much. My boss will conclude the rest.
Audio Jungle.